How about that? A nice puff of Dominican cigar smoke to start our interaction, which I hope will be fruitful and beneficial to you, if not yours. Welcome to Two Hands and a Face Audio. Our purpose this evening is to have a look at the Blackstar HT-20 Mk II amplifier, which has become a go-to workhorse kind of an amp for a great many working musicians out there. Now, I know Blackstar has its questioners in the consumer ranks. They have become a bit of a controversial product. That's a cool thing for me. I enjoy watching this kind of thing unfold. But for my part, I've had very good luck with these devices, knock on wood, and they have served me well. I've owned 4 of them and currently own 2. And the HT-20, as the name would imply, is a 20-watt combo amplifier. It is exceedingly loud, given its nominal wattage level. It's certainly loud enough for any gig I'm apt to play, which is anything from an outdoor wedding up to a large club. No problem at all. Of course, we're talking about stage volume here, and you know, you run the signal via microphone or direct out through a PA system, and you get what you need out of it. But in terms of just lighting up the room during a rehearsal, this thing will do it, man. It will come to absolute life. It's got all the volume you could want, and the gain ceiling on this amp is absolutely ridiculous. Now let's start taking a look at the clean sound. I've got a strap plugged into it with my EQing control set at noon. As you can hear, it's got a really, really nice, warm, clean, balanced kind of a clean sound. It's a very tasty, clean sound. I would match it against almost anything that I've ever owned in terms of having a pleasing, clean sound. The EQ is, of course, very interactive. Your standard bass, mid, and treble controls. And there is an additional 4th component to the EQing called the ISF, or Infinite Shape feature, and I will demonstrate that more when we explore the distorted abilities of this amp. Very, very pleased with the reverb on this amp. The reverb is lush and smooth. It is a digital reverb. It's not a spring reverb, so you won't get that cartoon boing when you set it on the floor while it's live during a rehearsal. I don't know if you'll even miss that. I won't. But I'm going to exaggerate the effect of the reverb a little bit now. Not that you would use this much reverb in a gig or a recording, but just to show you how smooth it is at depth. Really nice verb, a lot of character, but really soft, smooth, and it gets as deep as you want. It's about at half intensity right now. You know, demonstrating it for a further level of depth is almost futile because no one's ever going to use it at that level. Really sweet reverb. And I think it's worth mentioning because so many amps out there in the modern ranks either omit reverb completely or they supply a crappy sounding one. Let's be blunt. Not like this. So you couldn't ask for a nicer reverb, especially one that's built in. There's a lot of great exterior pedals that supply a wonderful sounding reverb. But if you don't want to carry more gear and you just want to rely on the one that's built into the amp, this is an excellent choice of amp to the purpose of a lush, smooth reverb. So we've got a beautiful sounding reverb. We've got a beautiful sounding clean sound. This particular Blackstar amp has a voicing control that operates on both channels, clean and dirty. Now, the voicing control is essentially like a preamp boost. It hits the input a little harder and it gives you a little bit of a boost. So here's our Here's our clean tone without that boost. Here it is with the voicing controller boost engaged. So you can almost hear a bit of distortion. You're getting a low grind there, something you might want to use for a blues kind of a sound. Gives you a little more attack, gives you a little bit of that grind. You can back off your own attack a little bit and get it back down to a pretty clean sound. You really don't have much of an additional boost or bite going on right there. And then you can take the voicing control off and you're back to a nice, clean, sparkling sound. Very round, very warm, but with a lot of upper, mid, and high definition. Let's see how it carries a pedal. I mean, there's a lot of conversation about whether or not an amp is a good pedal platform. I've never known exactly who coined the phrase or what exactly they meant by it, but to me, any amp that has a nice, clean effects loop and a robust, clean sound is going to be a good pedal platform. This particular amp has an effects loop that you can use at -10 dB to make it really subdued, keep your effects really in the background and a very subtle sound, or its normal operating level is at +4 dB. So you get a little bit of a boost just because so many effects will drag your signal down a little bit. They will reduce the amount of gain just inherently by their operation. So the normal operating level for this effects loop is in fact +4 dB, and I think it's ideally set. And here's my new Pigtronics Constellator with a little bit of delay and a little bit of chorus. So we're getting a really pretty sound, a very nice mix level of effect versus dry signal. I like the way this effects loop is set up, so to use the term pedal platform, I think this applies completely to this little amp. Really, really nice sounds. Let's move on over to the distortion sound. And this thing is, the gain ceiling is so high, it's almost difficult to tame it. It really wants to jump out of its skin and bite your head off. So I've started it with the gain set at about 10%. Phenomenal amount of distortion. You can hear it. It sounds great. It's got that old, again, kind of bluesy sound. Definitely supports the natural twang of a good Strat. You can kind of get the funk tone going. So that's kind of a cool sound. I like it. I think it's got a great many applications. Let's take the gain from 10% up to about 25, and we're going to have a whole new beast on our hands. So it can get really nasty. It's a great old arena rock kind of sound, kind of a mid-level distortion, or kind of like an old Marshall being pushed a little bit. Now the interesting thing about the gain channel is that it too operates with the voicing control that we demonstrated on the clean channel, which is to say kind of a light boost, but in the distortion ranks, it has a serious effect, a profound effect. So here's the gain channel at just under half of its capacity on the Blackstar HT-20 Mk II. Now let's add our voicing control, which again is essentially a boost. Even at a low room volume, beautiful overtones and the beginning of some really nice feedback. When you get this thing up to performance level, you can create art in the air with the feedback. So let's give ourselves a little bit more on the gain control. Take it right to halfway. And this is again without the boost feature involved, or the voicing feature, as Blackstar likes to call it. I'm going to play the same passage with the voice control. See, it's dying to feed back, and I've got it at a very low room level volume. I've got it at a volume that I can talk over, because in these videos, that's what I do. So let's go ahead and get ridiculous with it. Let's get the volume and the gain up to a place where we can insult ourselves a little bit, hurt our own feelings, as it were. I've got the gain control set now at 2 o'clock, so just beneath 2/3 of its capacity. And let's see what nastiness we can avail ourselves of. And that's without the voicing control engaged. So let's engage the voicing control. So we've got a sick, nasty, sustainy, feedbacky level of distortion available from this amp. You're hearing it at not even 2/3. I mean, this thing absolutely will go over the top with gain, which is one of the things we dearly love about it. And it carries your pedal sounds extremely well. Lot of sonic possibilities with this amp, with that insane gain ceiling that it has. Built-in boost that works on both channels, called a voicing control. We've got a really clean and incredibly adjustable effects loop so that it operates as a wonderful pedal platform. We've got a round, tasty, clean sound. And the other feature of the EQ that we spoke about earlier, the IFS, or infinite shape feature, would be aptly demonstrated on the distortion channel. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to back the gain off a little bit to make the point. Now I've got the typical tone stack, 3-component, bass, mid, treble, set at noon, all of them. And I've got the ISF, the infinite shape feature, set entirely counterclockwise, which is what Blackstar folks call the American setting. Go America. I'm digging that. So let's take a listen to what we get on the American setting. Very typical. I don't want to say typical, but definitely a standard American kind of rock distortion tone that we can sink our teeth into. I'm going to go ahead and use the infinite shape feature at the fully clockwise position, which our good friends at Blackstar like to call the British setting. These differences are subtle in a video, but prominent in person. When you go and try one out, you'll hear the difference. A much warmer sound, less articulate on the British side, more of a boosted lower mid and mid. So it's kind of reminiscent of the old beautiful distortion tones of the 60s and 70s. Maybe something like a Tommy Iommi from Black Sabbath, God love him, he's a great guitar player, would have used. And you can kind of hear the clarity difference. This is the old warm British sound. Now let me dial it right over to the American sound. A little bit sharper top end, a little bit higher in the upper mid so that you can hear the articulation a little more, and it just is a matter of absolute taste. Me, I love them both. Both settings sound great to my ears, and the beauty of it is you've heard this ISF feature at both of its extremes, all the way clockwise, all the way counterclockwise, all the way Brit, all the way American. There's any number of ranges in between, and basically this control will impact the way your three-tone stack, bass, mid, and treb, it'll impact the way they react. So there's a lot of combination, a lot of possibilities here. It just takes experimentation to find your favorites. So I would invite you to readily find your nearest Blackstar dealer. You're going to find one in every big town, every major city, and go try one of these out, man. They really have a sweet sound. And the distortion is beyond impressive. So if you like what you're hearing, go check out this Blackstar amp. It's the HT-20 Mk II, 12 AX7s in the preamp stages, or what we like to call over the Cs, ECC 83. These are EL84 power tubes, perfect for a 20-watt format. And this amp, I might add, is beautifully and moderately priced. So go try one out for yourself. If you enjoyed this video or got anything positive from it, please hit subscribe and join us on a regular occasion. We're bringing products to this review platform all the time. And if you didn't particularly care for it, go ahead and hit it 10 times and tell 200 friends, and we'd appreciate that a great deal. Thank you, and come see us.